Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the Crunkest show in social media history. I want to welcome you to a special edition of the War Zone. It's a virtual fundraiser for me as I embark on this journey to be the next school board trustee in District 9 in the Houston Independent School District. I think I got one of the best moderators in the business, man. She finna grill me today. But you guys get to grill me too. So, without further ado, let's get to it, man. Say, man, I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the War Zone. It's a special edition. Whether you know it or not, I'm running for school board in the Houston Independent School District in November. District 9, matter of fact, that seat was held by Wanda Adams for like 2 or 3 terms. I can't remember right off, but she ended up going to be a precinct judge, and congratulations to her on that. And now we have to get to the business in November of picking a new trustee for District 9. And I decided, based on the community asking me to give it a shot again. I did it 4 years ago. I didn't stop working. And I decided I would run again to try and help our children. So I'm going to turn this over to Demetra. She got it today, y'all. Kick back because it's going to be interesting.
So hello, everybody. Welcome to Mr. Gerry Monroe's fundraiser. He, as he said, is running for school board District 9 as a trustee. And so we all need to do our part to help get Gerry to the school board. You guys remember that movie, Get Him to the Greek? We need to get him to the school board. And so do us a favor before we really get into the meat of this. Can you all share it so that everybody else can get the information and join in on the conversation? I'm going to moderate here, so I'm also going to take your questions. So whatever questions you may have for Gerry, I don't care what question it is in regards to him running for the school board, please put it in there, and I am going to read your questions as best that I can, because I think that the questions should come from you all. Also, the reason that we are here is because we are going to raise some money. We know that while, Gerry does a lot of things for free, this is not one of them that he can do. He needs money to run for the school board, because oftentimes when people run, they have these big, giant war chests behind them. And oftentimes the money is what gets people to those seats. And so we need money, right? As much as you can give, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is. Please do spread the word, but we have to get him to that seat. And so without further ado, and Donovan is actually going to join us just a little bit later. He has to tie up some things. And so, again, if you guys could please share this so we can go ahead and get started. Gerry, you ready?
I'm actually ready. I went and got a lamp so we can try to increase the light. Let's see if that works.
Yeah, Gerry was sitting in the dark, so we want to see his handsome face. So you guys can see his face as he's answering your questions. So again, for those of you guys who are watching on Facebook and YouTube, please share. And also, if you can, we're asking that you donate during this fundraiser to get Gerry to the school board. All right, Gerry, so here we go. Now, this is your second time running, right? Your second time out the gate. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So why are you doing this again? What's your motivation for running again? And just to be clear, you weren't successful the last time around. So what makes you want to do it this time?
Well, actually, it's the people, man. I mean, the parents. I got kids that were calling me, Mr. Monroe, we need some help, man. And at the time that they were calling, I had told myself I wasn't going to do it. I don't like the way that politics is ran in the city of Houston and Harris County. And I didn't feel like going through that again. I felt I was cheated the last time. And I didn't want to do it anymore. But when I lost, I kept working. I just kept working because the kids needed help. The teachers needed help. The schools needed help. So I never stopped working at all. I think I worked harder after I lost than before I actually ran. So the reason that I'm doing it again is because of the input from the community, which is the kids, the parents, the teachers that wanted me to do it.
So I want to just touch upon something. You say you were cheated the last time out. Do tell, how were you cheated?
Well, bottom line is when I went back and I did the analysis, and I had some political folks that look at numbers and go back. The early voting numbers did not seem right. I mean, they were astronomical for the person that won. I'm not saying that she personally cheated, but somebody did something because the two people that ran against her, our numbers just didn't add up. So, I also know that, some influential people put a third candidate in our race because it should have been me versus the incumbent. That's what everybody wanted to see. And if it had been a fair race, I know in my heart, just like everybody else, that we the dog walked it. So they personally put somebody in the race. You know how they do, throw somebody in a race to try to take votes and different things. And that I call that cheating. And because I would not bow down to them. I mean, I went to a super neighborhoods meeting where this super neighborhood actually wanted me to sign a contract with them to say what I would do for them. Well, hold on a second. You a bunch of older people. What can a school board representative do for you? And I refused to sign that contract. I refused to take money from vendors. But bottom line, the numbers were played with, and that's why I felt I was cheated.
So who are you running against this time? Because I know the last time we spoke in detail about your run, you were going to be unopposed, but it sounds like a bunch of people were added to the race. So can you talk about some of them? And do you think that they're worthy opponents? Like, should you be worried?
The incumbent, Myrna Guidry, who would be the incumbent, who took Wanda's place, they appointed her. She sits on the school board right now. She took the seat in January. She's one of the opponents. She's an adjunct professor from Texas Southern University. I've never seen her speak at a board meeting. I know that she hasn't gone to the school to deal with issues. So that's one of my opponents. The next opponent would be a young lady named Sean Russian. And Sean is very good at cozying up to the Texas Education Commission, Texas Education Agency, their deputy commissioner, AJ Crable. We've been to several meetings where she's cozied up to TEA. And TEA is on a mission to destroy the Houston Independent School District. So, is Miss Guidry worthy? No. I'm going to be honest with you. No. Ma'am, have you ever spoken at a school board meeting? Since you've taken the seat, all you do 90% of the time, because I watch, is you abstain from voting. Hold on a second. You either got to vote yes or you got to vote no, but you abstain. So, I know for a fact that she really didn't know what she was getting into, and the thing is that now she sees how bad this really is, and it may not be something that she wants to do. So I don't feel she has the passion to sit in the seat. She doesn't have a history of working with our schools or our children. As far as Sean Russian, her claim to fame is sitting on the Shared Decision Making Committee at Madison High School. That's the SDMC committee, where they work hand in hand, supposedly, with the principal, the administration, to make life better on the campus for the kids. But Sean, I forgot. Have you ever been over to Worthing High School when Miss Kalia Campbell Rome was there? Have you ever worked with them? Have you ever tried to decrease gang violence on that campus? Have you ever been over to Westbury, Sean? Have you ever been over there to work with the administration? See, Gerry Monroe, in my spare time, because I value teachers, I went got Texan tickets, Rocket tickets, Astros tickets, and went gave them to the teachers of the year in District 9. Not because I was running, but because I realistically appreciated them doing the job that they did for those children. So think about it. When I did it, I wasn't going to run. So this was just me being me. But as far as having the expertise to understand the numbers, understand how this business actually runs, neither one of these ladies have the expertise to say that. I don't even think that they know what is the job of a trustee, which we would only have 3 job functions. They don't know how many meetings by law that we're supposed to attend, which is only 4 per month. And on an average, with all the sneaky stuff that they're doing, these trustees are going to 10 to 15 meetings a month. They're not public. You don't give the public enough notice. You set them at times where people can't come. So if you can't stand up for the kids outside of the boardroom, how you gonna stand up for them inside of the boardroom? That's why they're not qualified.
Okay, so now we're gonna get deep, but before we do, can you put your Cash App up? And you guys that are watching, I see a lot of you saying that you wish you could vote for Gerry, but you don't live in the neighborhood or even the country. But you can donate to help get him there, since we are also passionate about seeing Gerry get on the school board. He's going to put up the Cash App now, and that money is going to go toward his run. So that's how you can help.
Now, can I say this here, because I believe in investing in our people. So I'm gonna start it off. I can't ask you to invest in me if I don't invest in myself. So you can put me down right now for 500. I'm gonna put 500 into the account, because I can donate to my own account. It's gonna take some money to beat this teachers union. Now, last time I ran against them, I raised $900 total. My opponent spent $60,000 to beat me, and I'm gonna put 500 in there right now. I'm 500 deep right now.
Well, add 100 for me as well. So you got 100 for me. So let's talk about let's go back a little bit. So you told us why the other candidate was not worthy. Why did she beat you? And I think you kind of touched upon it right now. $60,000, right? You said her $60,000 opposed to your 900. Talk about how significant of a difference that is when a person is able to raise that kind of money, and talk about, is that a lot of money for a school board seat, the $60,000?
Okay, let me say this for the people. I do accept Zelle. You just need my phone number. I just posted it, 832-933-3447. That's all you need to do, Zelle. And if you want to do Cash App, so be it. So I got 500 from me, 100 from you, $60 from Keith Downing over in Casimir Garden. He's not in my district, but we work together. Anytime he needs me to go out there and help his kids on his side of town, I'm there. Keith is the one that runs the community garden, by the way, if y'all need fresh vegetables. Raising only $900, going up against a machine that put $60,000 into the campaign. $60,000 is a lot of money to run a school board campaign. But when you don't want change, you're going to put as much money into that opponent as you can. I struck the fear of God into these people because of who I was and the way that I campaigned. So if you don't mind, can I show you why they had to spend $60,000? So we're gonna share this screen, y'all, and let's make sure we got it. We got everything together, and I'm gonna show you why they spent $60,000. Bear with me, I'm getting it up.
She said, "Come over." She said, "Come over." She said, "Come over." You gotta put it in work, yeah. Yeah. Come and put it in work, yeah. Baby, I'm on my way. Baby, I'm on my way. I'm coming, put it in work, yeah. Oh. HISD is the most corrupt entity that I have ever seen, except for the Gambino crime family. When I say these are just straight criminals, masquerading as trustees, dude, if you even had a clue, it's all about the money.
In real estate.
When is anybody gonna be about these kids? Hey, Gerry Monroe, candidate, HISD Trustee District 9, Madison, Worthing, Westbury. Ain't no other option. So you trying to figure out if I'm gonna run? Say it's the OG, you know me, I went and got a cold bean. I'm in the candy blue lack, we creeping OD. In November, take the pimp into the boardroom. Say check my resume, you know what I'm gonna do. I got the urban with me, it's time to make them scatter. Say this ain't land partial, and I ain't one to add them. So let me start with it, but we gon' keep it strong. Let's build a dream team, Monroe and Jelana Jones. Segregated classrooms, teachers getting kicked out. Labeled me a troublemaker, say I had a big mind. Ready to change the channel, rock the district to the core, dog. Felt like the Taliban surrounded me with no love. Hey, you can do the shut me down, B. You got the crooks on your team, I got the streets right behind me. Education activists, they label me an OG. About to pull a Tito and take the district now. That's how we do it down in South Park. That's how we do it up in Hong Kong. Everything that's on the side. It's Monroe, Trustee number 9. That's how we do it down in South Park. That's how we do it up in Hong Kong. Everything that's on the side. It's Monroe, Trustee number 9. I ain't begging for a vote. You know what you gotta do. Put me in the seat and watch your boy act a straight fool. Black and brown kids getting cheated on a daily basis. The school district, they steady ducking fair cases. Special ed kids, they stay getting got. While the DA showing love for these nasty crooked cops. Teacher salary say that's a joke. District officials getting rich, but they claiming that they broke to the train back in. I'm going on a mission. I miss you when I get exit Piranha, don't listen. They say I'm too raw, but that's me. Say I'm real with it, homie, black as BET. Say I'ma ride till you shout it with everything I got. Come November, Team Monroe, we bout to make it pop. Take the hood that had it made, cause I'm a boss. Safe and sound, don't even run, cause I ain't taking no loss. That's how we do it down in South Park. That's how we do it up in Hong Kong. Everything that's on the side. It's Monroe, Trustee number 9. That's how we do it down in South Park. That's how we do it up in Hong Kong. Everything that's on the side. It's Monroe, Trustee number 9. Say I'm gonna do it for the hood, sunny side to the man now. Westbury, South Park, we got a man now. You know they tryna knock my shine. Hold up, District 9 need a gorilla, so I'm going for mine. Fight for better schools, we bringing back the program. Failure's not an option, and I don't really give a damn. Selling out the kids for a contract. Can he handle the trustees? Hold up, don't even doubt. Yeah, house on it, partner, cause I'm going to win. And all you sideline suckers, I'm about to go in. Back y'all Mayweather, that's what they wanna see. Miss Adams versus the legend, the Southside OG. I fought for the kids, made free, pack it up. I'm at the board meeting Monday, so you know I'm acting up. November 7th, let's take it to the street. Take the fuck about the trunk, cause I'm taking your seat. That's how we do it down in South Park. That's how we do it up in Hong Kong. Everything that's on the side. It's Monroe, Trustee number 9. That's how we do it down in South Park. That's how we do it up in Hong Kong. Everything that's on the side. It's Monroe, Trustee number 9. Gerry Monroe, candidate, HISD Trustee, District 9. Now who you vote for?
Now that's how you do it. That's how it's done. And so if you guys are joining us a little bit late, we are smack dab in the middle of Gerry's fundraiser here. He is running for school board District 9 as a trustee, and every little bit helps. I don't care what it is, $1, $5, whatever you have. Let's get him to the school board so that our children, because ultimately this is about our children. Gone are the days of electing people who, you know, sound good, you know, when it comes to getting the vote, but when they get in there into office, we never hear from them again. So let's get Gerry there, because we know that he has boots on the ground and that he actually does the work. So Donovan, what's happening with you, brother?
Man, I came in at just the right time. I thought I was back in the 1990s, bobbing my head. I'm like, you know, just the music alone made me want to vote. I mean, to me, show that to your kids. And if your kids see that video, they're going to be like, Mama, you got to vote for him. Mama, you got to vote for him. You know, that's how good that video was. I mean, come on now. the 5-star. He has a passion for the kids. So for those of y'all that don't like rap music, let's keep him out of rap music and get him on the school board. That's how we should do it.
All right, so we're gonna get back into the questions, y'all. If y'all have some questions for Gerry, please put them in the comment section, and Donovan and I will make sure that we read them. All right, so let's get on to it. So vote splitting. You talked about vote splitting. Well, you kind of talked about it. You didn't call it vote splitting, but vote splitting is when just different candidates are thrown into a race to take votes away from somebody who may win. And so, Gerry, are there any vote splitters in this race?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that Sean Russian is a vote splitter because the Harm Clark community, certain people in that community, they don't want me to win. And they're gonna throw her in, and that'll pit me against Guidry. But I mean, I'm taking the gloves off this time because I know what's going to happen if we don't get the right people in the right positions, and especially the Houston Independent School District. So I really feel that Sean Russian is a vote splitter. I look forward to the vote splitter that the Houston Federation of Teachers is going to throw in the race, which will probably be a Latino, because they want to flip that seat from African American to Latino. And if that happens, then they're going to decimate black schools. I can tell you that right now because I know what the plot is. So realistically, I really feel that Sean is a vote splitter. I feel like the lady that's sitting in the seat right now is a vote splitter because they're not qualified.
All right, so we got a couple of questions from the comment section. Mr. Piper Brain, how are you today? So you say in Kentucky, they just passed a law that made it illegal for teachers to strike. What do you think about that?
I think that a teacher has a degree. And if the playing field is not leveled as far as taking care of our teachers, in the state of Texas, they cannot strike. Okay, well, guess what? Unless you're willing to go to the extreme, sometimes you can't accomplish the goal. So I think that the law should be changed. You know, I think that if it's not being done right for teachers, that they should be able to strike and get what they need so that they can work the way that they need to work. They're not allowing our teachers to teach anymore. These state mandated tests have taken away the one thing that teachers need every day when they walk on a campus, which is the passion to teach these children. They're not allowing them to teach. So yes, I believe that teachers should be able to strike.
All right. And Jalen, how are you today? You say, what ideas do you have to keep every school on an equal playing field?
Simple. I mean, the word equity is tossed around like a basketball. And the only way that we can create equity is we need to go and do a complete inventory of every single school to find out what does this school have. If it's a high performing school, what after school programs do it have? What academic programs do it have? What sports programs do it have? And now you go to a school that doesn't have that, you put the same things in that school. I'm tired of people saying I have to take my child out of this low performing school or this black or brown school, and I need to move them over to River Oaks and send them to a good school. No, we need to fight to get everything we need in our schools. Now, I tell you what, to create equity, which is a great question, when there were 3 black schools that didn't have a library, and whether you guys know it or not, a librarian is a certified teacher. They have to be a certified teacher because they can teach you about research. You see what I'm saying? I forced them in the last 4 years after I lost to put libraries in Cullen Middle School, Jackie A. Senior High School, and Addicts Middle School. They had to spend about $3 million to give us the same type of library that they had at a high performing school. So you got to make them put what these kids need in these quote unquote low performing schools so that they can have the same thing that the kids on the other side of town have.
All right. And so let's see here. Mr. Pyre Brain says, I'm in Austin, Texas. Would you cover Houston or the entire state?
No, just Houston. Let me make sure we understand the job of a trustee when you speak of it that way. In Houston, we're single member districts. My district is District 9. So automatically, this is the problem I have with one of my opponents, Sean Russian. She would only focus on District 9. When you are a trustee, you represent every child in every district. So I would represent 211,000 children, but my border is District 9. So not only would I fight to make sure that the kids in 9 had what they needed, I would fight for every kid in every district because I have to vote on these things. And if it's not right, I'm not going to vote for it. But if it's what the children need, you can best believe I'm going to vote for it.
All right now. And Bank Deuce the King, I hope I said that right. How are you? Says, Mr. Mitra, I'm going to cash app $50 because Monroe has looked out for me. Good luck. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for that. And again, this is a fundraiser, y'all. So anything that you have, the cash app is on the screen. It will most definitely help get Gerry to the school board. So just a second ago, you talked about state mandated testing. Can you explain to people what that is? And sounds like you're against it and why?
State mandated testing is not used for nothing more than to close low performing schools. That's all it's used for. You think about it, when a child graduates, they need a SAT or an ACT score. Okay, so this test creates a lot of anxiety for our children. They're under a lot of pressure, and it scares the hell out of the average kid. But we need to figure out where our kids are. You can do that by allowing the teachers to teach. So no, I'm not for state mandated testing. They need to do away with it. You see what I'm saying? It's just a cash cow for the people that administer the test. $40 to $50 million a year that we're spending for a test that realistically can't tell you where your child is academically. Now, I would like to educate the public on the fact that your child does not have to take that test. You can opt out of that test. When you opt out of that test, your child then goes in front of a grade placement committee at the end of the school year. And guess what they do? They look at your child's grades and they determine whether your child should be promoted to the next grade level. So why do we need state mandated testing? It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. And the kids don't like it. And if the kids ain't comfortable with it, then Trustee Monroe don't like it either.
I know that's right. This was for the kids. And thank y'all for the questions here. So Missy Tyler, how are you today? You say voting for Gerry Wayne Monroe, how can you help fix the severe problems that Superintendent Thomas created for the former North Forest ISD? And also, what are they going to do with all the abandoned buildings and properties? And then Donovan, you can have it after this.
North Forest ISD was nothing more than a coup for the Houston Independent School District. You know, they had their issues, you know, money was missing. So HISD sucked up North Forest. And when they sucked up North Forest, they just went on business as usual. So they didn't put any money into this thing like they should have to make sure the kids had the resources on the school campus that they needed. The way that you fix that is you go back and you evaluate each school. What do these children need? Now, you notice it's not what about what I need. What do these children need? Now, once you figure out the needs of the children, you figure out the needs of the teachers. All right? Now, once you figure that out, let's fix it. Let's stop talking about it. I don't do studies. I look at the problem, I evaluate it, I come up with a solution. Let's get it done. The thing that North Forest needs at this moment, the schools that are in quote unquote the old North Forest, one, they need to do something about the number of certified teachers on those campuses. They don't have enough. You're running with long-term substitutes or regular subs, and your child is not getting certified education. So if your child is in a classroom that doesn't receive certified education for 30 consecutive days, you can opt out of the STAR test. You get to pick what school you want to go to. But I don't want you to move your child. I want you to go down to that school district and tell them you took my tax money and I need what I need for my child in this school. That's what needs to happen. Now, what was the second part of that question?
The second part of the question is about the abandoned buildings.
The abandoned buildings, they selling them off. They either selling them off to their friends or they selling them off to charter schools. Charter schools just don't pop up in your community because they done built this fabulous building. Most of the times, they get buildings from the existing school district at a cut rate price, and they turn them into charter schools. Sometimes they stand on their own as a charter, but sometimes they come into our district as an in-district charter. Why do we need an in-district charter school when you already had a school there? That makes no sense. So they're really just buying these buildings off, and that's why we ended up with all these charter schools. So if you would ask me if this came up on a vote, would I support it? Not at all. I believe in public education.
And I'm glad you brought up the public education. Well, one question that I have, I've had children in the school district and stuff. And one thing I notice, especially when it comes to our young boys, especially the young boys, the teachers put a narrative on them, and that the system puts a narrative on them that they're troublemaking and all this other stuff, and they put them in special ed. What are you going to do in regards to changing the narrative in how teachers deal with Black kids versus all the other kids? Because once that stigma is put on them, then it's a big problem, as we know. So what can you do as a charter member to change the policy, the unofficial policy of how these schools warehouse and get our kids prepped to go into the prison pipeline?
Well, first of all, no school should ever have the feel of a prison. That's the first problem. That if you go to a lot of low performance schools or Black schools or brown schools, they treat the children like they are in prison. I've been to schools where they make our children walk down one side of the hallway. They do that in the prison system with their shoulders on the walls. You see what I'm saying? In a single file line. That sounds like you in diagnostics in TDC. So no. First of all, don't treat our kids like they're criminals out the gate. We have to understand that you meet a child where they are. Most of these kids, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, they're children. They're the same kids in school that we were. So why all of a sudden do we treat them like that? Stop mistreating our children from a physical and mental aspect like they're criminals. That's the first thing. Secondly, I would have a realistic sit down with whatever committee talks to the superintendent, because I can't overstep my boundaries. All right, as a trustee, let's figure out why we don't have enough male presence in our school system. Go to a school and show me how many male teachers you have. That's where a lot of the problem lies. You see what I'm saying? It's cool if you got a male principal, but he's a principal. How many male teachers do you have in this school? Now, more importantly, when we figure that out, if it's a Black school, Mr. Donovan, how many African-American male teachers do you have on this campus? These kids want to be like the male figure that's over them every day. They realistically do. I talk to the kids. But if they don't see it, see, these kids are visual. If they don't see it, they don't feel like they can accomplish it. And the last thing, it doesn't matter if you're at this school or that school. Let me tell you something. I'm from Jackie A.C. High School. And y'all see it almost every day. I got something on that says Jackie A.C. High School, because I loved where I went to school. I love the fact that I spent more time at that school than I spent at my house. You see what I'm saying? Make this place a place where children want to be. That's the first thing. So if you can do that, I guarantee you, if they want to be there, if they trust the teachers and they're being treated right, your academic performance is going to go through the roof.
A quick follow-up with that. A lot of people are under the assumption, because this is an elected position, that just like any other position, it's a big money grab for the politicians and it's a step for you to do something else. Could you tell people exactly what does a school board member make? Because obviously, if it's a money grab, everybody would be running for it and it's a way to do it. But if it isn't about the money, then obviously there, for you, there's the passion to represent the children there for the children must be the go-getting situation for you to be there, because if it doesn't make money, as they say, it doesn't make sense.
The Houston Independent School Board trustees make no money. None. They're not supposed to, but as we've seen throughout the years, they have their ways of making money. That's not my focus. I don't want to come through the door and cut side deals with vendors and different people like that. I realistically want to come through the door and work for the children and work for the teachers and really change the narrative of the Houston Independent School District. So no, they don't make any money at all. And for me, I don't want to be a career politician. Now, the one thing that people can say in the city of Houston, you see guys running a race, they lose. They ran in school board, they lost. So now they in the city council race. They lost that. Now they running for county commissioner. They lost that. Gerry Monroe has only ran for one position. That's District 9. I don't want to be a career politician. And to make sure that I'm not a career politician, I'm going to take somebody under my wings from the day that I start and groom them so that they can take my place when I leave. I only want to be there long enough to affect change. And then once I affect change, then I'm going on to my next assignment and turn this over, hopefully, to a young, bright person that will go and continue the work that I start.
And I just wanted to say, I understand that the whole black male teacher situation. I have 2 degrees, and out of my whole academic career from kindergarten all the way to my last degree, I've only had 1 black male teacher. 1, just 1. So black male teachers are very important. So I'm going to get back to these questions. Brenda, how you doing? And again, you guys, we are in the middle of a fundraiser. If you can, go ahead and donate. And I see some of you already throughout the comment section said that you are going to donate. So that is much appreciated. And I'll call your name out when I get to it. But Brenda, you say, will the candidates be able to debate?
Say, man, my man Jeff Boney from the 4 Times, he's a city council member over in Missouri City, still works for the 4 Times. Last time we were able to debate, and I'm talking about a real debate, not one of these situations where you walk through the door, you got a minute to talk. We had the Sunnyside Multipurpose Center, and we went at it. Will they debate me? I doubt it. I realistically doubt it. I don't think that I think that they know in their hearts that they can't debate me. You see, because the one thing, and we're going to be honest with the people, Demetri, when we spoke earlier, you say, is there any questions that you want me to ask you? And what did I tell you? No. No, you ask me whatever you want to ask me. I know this like the back of my hand. So I don't realistically think that they would want to debate me, but I'm going to be honest with you. I want you to debate me. I want to expose you for who you are, the person that does not care about these children. Think about it. If I'm campaigning on the same things that I campaigned on 4 years ago, you sure you want to debate me? That means nothing has changed in 4 years. But we can go back further than that, but I'm going to just leave it at them 4 years. So I don't think they will debate me.
All right. So I want to, and you guys, I'm going to get to every last one of your questions. So keep them coming. All right. So here we go. We finna go a little bit low, Gerry.
Okay. Before you do that, let me thank Bubba, Shaquila Rambis, Joanne Stevenson, Elke Henderson, Aisha Wilson, Terrence Wolford for their donations. Thank you so much. And right now, y'all, we're up to $495. We're gonna need more than $495. But now we ain't at $495. We at $995 because I put $500 off the muscle in them myself. But go ahead.
All right, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Maybe they don't want to debate you because you be cussing and yelling and stuff, and sometimes you call people names. What say you?
I've done countless numbers of interviews, never cursed. I've spoken at countless numbers of public events, never cursed, never lost my composure. Whatever excuse that they want to use to not debate me, that will show the people that you are afraid. Now, here's the thing. When I'm on my show, I'm me. The passion comes through, and I'm going to say whatever I need to say. But what I've seen happen in education in the last 9 years, don't be mad at me for the way that I feel. You should be mad at you for not having the passion to deal with it in your way. I would not have to curse and be upset if people would step up to the plate for their children. If they would step up to the plate for the school in their community that they pay taxes on. So no, I'm gonna be honest with you. They'll use whatever excuse they need to use, but trust me, you don't sit down and negotiate $1 million deals and cuss everybody out in the boardroom. No, I know how to handle myself. So when we did the last debate 4 years ago, it was a good debate. No screaming, no hollering, no cursing. Come on, man, step into the square and let's get it on.
All right, so let me get to some of these questions. Al says, Dr. Monroe, will the other Black schools ever reach the high academic level that Yates has?
Actually, those schools were doing poorly 4 years ago, but with the help of Dr. Grenita Lathan, the good principals on those campuses, those schools actually, Al, started about here and they're slowly moving up. They're getting there. Because once you give us what we need on the campus, then they can excel. Stop acting like they're dumb because they're not. You got to give them what they need to work with in order for them to test themselves. That's why the Student Congress of HISD was so important, because the kids at the high performance schools, they actually want to challenge the kids at the low performance schools. And what they're saying, give them what they need so that way we don't feel like we're entitled. But if you give them kids what they need, Al, I guarantee you, I've seen it done, that they will get those scores up through the roof and they will do what they do. That's what happened at Yates. We fought to get what those children needed. And now those same kids that they said could not learn are blowing the doors off of academics.
All right, so let me get to this one. Jalen says accountability of the board is now non-existent. When you become trustee of District 9, how would you hold your counterparts accountable to the decisions that they make towards the children of Houston?
First thing we got to do, we got to have a sit down in a conversation. I've sat down with several of these board members as a parent, as a constituent. As a board member, now we sit down and let's create a level of respect for each other. Let's create a level of respect for each other. Now, when you respect somebody, it's easier to hold them accountable. It's easier to hold them accountable. But when you're in closed session and you're debating these points, what you have to do is make it make sense. You see what I'm saying? So you got to get them out of the mode of just looking out for their district, because we're single member districts. So you got to have that conversation where it's about 211,000 kids compared to the number of kids that's in your district. When you do that, then you can accomplish the goal. Because in District 9, it ain't just Black children. It's white kids, it's Asian children, it's Latino children. It's a smorgasbord of different races. So if I can do it in my district, let's just make the best decisions for all the children. But you can best believe I'm going to hold you accountable. And that means that whatever we can discuss that wasn't in closed session, I'm going to discuss it with the public. And I'm going to let you know what's going on.
All right. And Conetta, how are you? You say, Monroe, if I think it hasn't already happened, will you change the mascot at Westbury? And you also say, I will use the Cash App, and thank you for your donation as well. So will you change the mascot?
I'm going to be honest with you. When the mascot thing came up about 3 years ago, I look at numbers. And it was going to cost $1 million, $2 million to change these mascots. I didn't really care about the mascots. I cared more about taking that $2 million and putting it into the classroom. You see what I'm saying? But before we change the mascot of Westbury or any school like that, ride with me, we have to change the name of Del Mar Stadium. That's the one that needs to be changed. Where our kids go and they play basketball, volleyball in the stadium that's named after one of the most racist school board trustees that you've ever laid eyes on. When I tell y'all how they tried to circumvent Brown versus the Board of Education, he was one of them. And you named a building after him. That doesn't work for me. But I think let's get the academic side straight first, and then let's go back and revisit that. Once we put enough money into our classrooms, if we got enough money to do this and change the mascot, because when you change the mascot, you got to buy all new uniforms. If you had the old mascot painted on the floor, you got to pay for that to be changed. Let's take care of the classroom setting first, and then we'll come back and deal with the mascot. But I agree that if it's Westbury Rebels, it should be changed.
All right. And then Brenda, you say, how many interviews, have you had any other interviews?
No, I haven't. And I don't plan on doing a lot. If it does not pertain to District 9, I'm not coming to your forums. I'm not going all over town to go to your forums and you realistically cannot vote for me. I'm not going all over town to stroke your ego and this forum over here and these high powered people. That's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. My energy needs to be in my district. So in my district, there's normally not a lot of interviews, but I'm always open to do an interview. And I mean, that's if you got a Facebook Live and you want to interview me at the Walmart. Let's get it in. I'm good with that.
Hey, a quick question here. Recently, Joe Biden's administration has said that transgender children or people can compete in different type sports. As a former football player and athlete yourself, a Yates graduate, what is your take on how that affects sports at the high school level, especially for our young girls?
It's not fair to our young girls. I'm gonna stand 10 toes down on it. If you were born a male, you should compete in male sports. The reason that Title IX was created in the first place, Title IX was to make sure that the ladies, the women, had a fair shake on their side. To me, I don't know how they would say it, but to me, this is a violation of Title IX to allow this to go on. No, if you're a guy, go compete where the guys compete. And if you're a girl, let our ladies enjoy their thing. They already don't get enough support. If you've been to a high school boys basketball game, like Yates, man, we're lock and load in the stands. It's thousands in the stands for the boys. Go to a girls game, maybe 40 or 50 people. They have enough that they're not getting on the women and the female side of the athletic game, and I don't support it. I don't support it at all.
All right, now, so Mr. Pirate Brain says, if you have officers in school, they should have Black officers in mostly Black schools. What is your opinion on that, officers in school?
Well, the first problem we got in the Houston Independent School District, we don't have enough officers to put one officer just on every campus. We don't have enough cops in the Houston Independent School District. Second thing about our officers, they're the 13th lowest paid police organization in Harris County and the surrounding counties. So they don't make any money. They don't make any money. I would agree that if it's an African American school, that officer should look like those children. Now, people are going to say, well, Monroe, no. Let me stop you. If you're a trustee right now and you screaming that the superintendent should look like the demographics of HISD, you're saying you need a Latino superintendent because HISD is mostly Latino. Okay, I get that. So I'm saying as a parent, as a constituent, that the officers should reflect the demographics of the school. So if it's a Black school, they should have an African American officer. If it's a predominantly Latino school, they should have a Latino officer, a white officer. They can relate to them. And as I study law every day, in the books, it's telling you that. That is one of the problems, that the people that police us are not of the same race, and therefore it leads to conflict. It would actually cut down on some conflict.
All right, so we're going to move along to these other questions. Mr. Pirate Brain says, children, in my opinion, should only have organic food in the school for breakfast and lunch. What is your opinion on that quickly?
I would disagree with him. I mean, let me tell you something, man. These kids spend the bulk of their day at the school. I think we need to figure out what kids like to eat. I think we need to talk to the kids, man. Because that food in them school districts is slop. It's slop. If they gonna eat unhealthy, they only get to do it one time of the day. So if they want Hot Pockets, let them have Hot Pockets. Let my babies eat what they want to eat.
All right. I didn't expect that one, but okay. And Tanya, I hope I said that right. Miss Fisher, you said the Fisher submitted our donations. And I also want to say that Miss Corliss Johnson has submitted $20, along with Al Jackson has submitted $30. So thank you so much for your donations. Keep them coming.
Judy King submitted 50. Melissa Tyler submitted 50. Kathy Swilly, she just put 100 in. And my man Donovan, he put 50. And I think I'm saying this right. Linda Pierce, she put 20. Adia Activity put 100. So we wrote. I may have repeated some people, but we want to thank you for what you're doing right now.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Al says, Dr. Monroe, most of the Black schools have food deserts as well as in the community. Will that ever change? And what will you do? I'm going to add that on to change it.
Well, actually, the school system, with the help of Dr. Gernita Lathan, I don't know exactly what they call it, but they have a day where they I think it's called a community garden, or they bring all this food, whether it's meat, fresh vegetables, to the school, and the community as well as the parents and the kid get to go out. This is free, and they get to shop, basically shop and get what they need. You see what I'm saying? I think the Houston Food Bank helps them with that. So, I believe that the food deserts inside of the school system, that needs to be fixed. But I also believe, being a former cook, that we need to cook our own food. I mean, we need to cook our own food for our children in the school system. Actually, it would save a lot of money. I've expressed this to the person over the food service department, Miss Betty Wiggins for HISD, that we need to get back to cooking our own food. And when you cook your own food, you can meet dietary restrictions to make sure that it's in line with what needs to be done. But the food that the kids eat, I challenge y'all, you got the time stop at a local school, and I want to see how fast you throw that garbage in the garbage.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's always been pretty bad as far as I remember. And Brenda says, is there a deadline for the funds that are needed to run for Trustee?
No, actually, we're going to do a fundraiser every month, some way, somehow. My campaign treasurer, Aisha Wilson, we're just going to keep doing it. And realistically, the day before the election, a lot of candidates get to election day and don't have any money left to get basic push cards to pass out at the polls. So we're going to do something every month to meet our fundraising goal. Last month, what we raised, we were able to pay for the website. We were able to pay for the van system. You see what I'm saying? So the money that we got, we used it wisely. So yeah, we're going to raise money up until the day before the election.
All right now. So again, if you guys are watching and you haven't donated, if you can, that would be totally awesome. And Jalen says, pre-COVID, there was an uptick of student violence on campus. What will you implement to keep our students and teachers safe in the classrooms?
Well, first of all, we have to be honest with the fact, because if you let the school district tell you with the data that they are safe, what they'll tell you with the data is crime is not an issue on the campus. Well, that's a flat out lie. It is an issue on the campus. We have to get them to be honest about what's going on those campuses. That's the first line of defense. Secondly, you need more mentoring programs in the school. Let's get rid of, now ride with me, if you don't agree, you don't agree. You need to get rid of in-school suspension. You need to have in-school mentoring. You need to talk to these children to find out what's going on with them some days. Why did you just blow up on your teacher and hit her in the face? You see what I'm saying? Or why are you so angry? But you send them in school suspension in this one room. They can't do anything. It's like they're in prison. The way that you stop school violence is just constant communication. You got to talk to the kids, man. You got to figure out where they are. But now, once you've done that and you've created this rapport, young man, young lady, I need you to understand that in the future, these will be the consequences for your actions. Now, once we talk about the consequences, then it is what it is. Another way you could deal with school violence is restorative justice practices, like Bertie Simmons instituted on the campus of Fur, which was nothing more than a cesspool for gang members. But all of a sudden, it all went away. And I get to talk to Bertie all the time, so I pick her brain on this. You know, create your own court system in your school. That's what she did. Create your own court system in your school. So when they violate the policies, they go in front of the court system. Now they ain't gonna like it, but young man, let me explain this to you, young lady. If you don't like it here, you ain't gonna like it downtown. You got to make this realistic to them, man.
Absolutely. Oh no, go ahead.
Just real quick, you know, I'm a political agitator out here in California, so I do my research, and let's get it out there. Are you the same Gerry Monroe while in high school that accommodated a bus and drove it to school? Let's get it out there.
I'm the same Gerry Monroe that took a metro school bus to get it to school. Yeah, and that was because I was late every morning, and my coach told me I couldn't be late anymore, or he would kick me off the team. So we know the type of team I played on. The other day, Max Prep labeled us the second greatest of all time to play high school football ever. And I wasn't getting kicked off the team. So, you know, the bus driver would stop at the cleaners every morning, and I had to get to school to put the crinkles in my girlfriend's hair on the front porch. I needed her crinkles to look a certain way. So, and then if once I did that, I would be late for first period. And my first period teacher was a female coach that felt I was the devil. She felt I was the devil. God bless her, love her to this day. But, you know, coach told me if you're late again, then I'm gonna kick you off the team. So the next morning I go to the bus stop. Man, if this man stopped his bus, I'm gonna take this bus. And everybody like, man, you're not gonna do nothing. They wasn't gassing me. They didn't believe I would do it. So he got off the bus, went in the cleaners like he always do. I do not know how to drive at all. I just watched him every morning. I know all I got to do is sit in the seat, turn the knob, and he'll. Psst. When that finished, I just keep the bus straight. I got one turn to make by TSU Band Hall, make a right, and then we go. I accomplished the goal, parked it there at TSU, made it to school early, put the crinkles in the girlfriend out, got to class on time. Coach come to me later on that day. Boy, I heard you stole the bus this morning. I say, that's your fault. He say, how is it my fault? I say, you told me to take some initiative, and that's what I did. And I walked off. And the only thing he told me when I got to practice, you definitely mentally ill.
Now, quick follow-up to that. You know, that's bus property, you know, school property and stuff like that. As a trustee, how would you, based on what you just said, deal with the student or a situation that just happened under those circumstances?
Well, we actually have that problem right now with our children getting to school on time. With the bus system that HISD has. The first problem is you cannot move middle school and high school kids on the same buses at the same time in the city of Houston. It's not going to work. They'll never get to school on time. What we need to do is go back to the old Bell system. You see what I'm saying? Where you move in X amount of kids, elementary at one time, high school at one time, middle school at one time. If we can do that, that solves the bus issue. And you'll never have a kid that have to emulate Gerry Monroe and steal a bus to get to school on time.
All right, yeah, we don't want kids to be doing that. And so let's go ahead and back to the comment section. So Al says, how would you handle if the issue of parent dress code, I guess, came into play, and how important is it in the larger scheme of things? We know a few years back, there was an issue where parents were coming to school in bonnets, and, you know, one lady who took issue with being reprimanded. She had a t-shirt on with no underwear, and the principal at the time, she, you know, banned it and sent out a letter and all of that. There was some uproar, it made the national news and all of that. So is that something you would rule on if that came to your desk, and what would your ruling be?
First of all, it is not within the policy of the Houston Independent School District to restrict parental dress on a campus. It's not in the policy. How do I feel about it? You can't have it both ways. What's one of the biggest issues we have at Black schools, low performance schools? Parental participation. So guess what? If mama show up in her rollers, welcome to the school. Because normally she ain't gonna show up in nothing. As long as they dress appropriately, I don't have a problem with it. You see what I'm saying? But some things that we wear, you know, if it's sheer and I can see your cheeks, and no, we would have a problem with that. we would have a problem with that. But for me, at the moment, I'm about policy. There's nothing in policy that says that they have to do this. And I know that principal tried to force that issue across the district just from principal to principal. And a lot of principals didn't want any part of it because they were just happy to see mom show up. So you can't have it both ways. But until it goes into black and white, if I had to vote on it, it would have to depend on how it was written. If I don't agree with it to a certain degree, I'm not. You got to remember, part of the lawsuit that I had against the Houston Independent School District was they were trying to restrict what I could wear. We don't want to violate anybody's constitutional rights. No, I didn't want it done for me, so I probably wouldn't vote for it.
I'm going to just piggyback on that and really quick, Gerry. So you're saying constitutional rights, but at what point do the students and other faculties, what rights do they have in regards to a person showing up scantily clad and that person being a parent? Like, what kind of example does that actually show for the other children, and what rights do the other people have? Well,
first of all, you can't change a child's behavior until you change adult behavior. Have you ever been on a school campus? Not here, I know you haven't. Have you ever seen how some of these teachers dress? You can see more ass and titties in a school than you can see in a club. You can't expect for mom to come here dressed a certain way if the teachers are dressed a certain way. You see what I'm saying? Then if the teachers dress like that, here come the girls dressed like that. You see what I'm saying? So if you're going to put this policy together, that's why I told you it has to be how it's written. It's got to pertain to everybody. The same principal that said you can't come to school dressed like this walks around the school till this day with house slippers on. No, it's got to be for everybody, or it can't be for anybody.
All right, sounds good. All right, so Brenda says, how do you feel about discipline education alternative programs in Texas schools?
I've already said that in-school suspension needs to go. We have to figure out the discipline aspect, because once you took out the discipline in the schools, you crippled the school districts. Because once the kids figured out there was no punishment for what they've done, then your discipline went through the roof. So my thing is we have to figure out that aspect, and that's where we would have to sit down as a collective unit of trustees and figure out what can we change to fix this problem, and at the same time make the campus safer. Because when we're talking about discipline, I know a lot of teachers that I've defended, that I've worked for, that were assaulted on school campuses and nothing was done. That doesn't work for me. When people like, should we have officers on the campuses? Yes. Because remember, we don't have a lot of male presence on the campus. So when some of these guys get loose on the campuses, especially at the high school level, then how you deal with it? So we have to address discipline, but that's a conversation that needs to be had as a collective unit of trustees.
Okay, and Anonymous says, what is your opinion on vocational education in the schools and bringing them back to have our children ready to go and get a decent job?
I believe that in the Houston Independent School District, vocational programs have never left the district. They shifted them from the black schools to the white schools. They took them all out to black schools. When we had vocational programs, our enrollment was through the roof. Yates had vocationals in their heyday. We had 3,500 kids on the campus. They barely cracking 900. You see what I'm saying? We need vocational programs for a lot of reasons, but I'm going to give you one good reason. Imagine if we had an apprenticeship program for plumbers in the Houston Independent School District right now. You see what I'm saying? So everybody's not going to be a lawyer or a doctor. Somebody got to cut the grass. Somebody got to fix the roofs. Somebody got to do the plumbing. I want vocational programming back in our high schools and stop pimping us through the use of community colleges to go get the degrees that we could get on the high school campus right now.
All right, now you're right. Yeah, there'd be a lot of money being made right now, especially by our people. If we had, something like a plumber's vocational training in school. So absolutely. Hey, what's going on with you? You say, why are police even needed in school? So I don't know if you just touched upon that, but can you quickly brush upon it?
Wisdom High School in Houston. Wisdom High School is the United Nations of high schools in the Houston Independent School District. Any nationality you can think of walks Wisdom High School's floors. I knew the principal who used to be there, Mr. Jonathan Trent, good guy. Worthing High School at one time had 26 identifiable gangs on their high school campus. Have you ever been to a high school that did not have a police presence, especially in the African American community? I would not want to go there. I would not want to visit. You have to have police presence on the campus, because if not, there will be a lot of people hurt. There will be violence like you've never seen in your life. You have to have a police presence on a campus like North Forest, who I don't know if they do it this year, but the last 2 years, every morning at 8 o'clock, all the kids were still standing outside. I showed up one morning. What's going on? Oh, we have to check everybody's backpack before they come in. Come on, man. We can't play that game. We got to have some type of police presence on these campuses to keep everybody safe.
All right, now, so let's see here. Let me get to the rest of these questions here. And Jalen says, how do you feel about truancy? What would you change?
Well, first of all, when I look at some of the schools, some of the kids that are truant, a lot of times, at least 28% of those kids are athletes, right? What did my coach tell me? If you can't get to school on time, if you ain't coming to school, you're not playing. Let's get that straight, first of all. Truancy, if it becomes an issue, whoever is the administrator on the phone needs to get on the phone with the parent. Or I can't reach them. Well, get in your car and do the Joe Clark and go to their house. We need to have a conversation as to why this child is not coming to school. Now, we also have to understand there are various reasons why these children are truant sometimes. You see what I'm saying? A kid leave home, hug his mama, get back home, mama in jail. You see what I'm saying? A lot of kids can't come to school every day because they don't have clean clothes. It's a lot of different reasons. So we have to dig off into the reasoning to figure out how do we get to a solution for it. But once we figure out that it may be because of their social economic issues, I'm not penalizing that child, man. We're gonna use our wraparound services and work with that family to see if we can help them so that this kid can be here every day.
All right, so we rounding it up here, and again, this is a fundraiser, you guys. If you haven't already, if you can donate something to the campaign, that would be great. So let's see here. Donovan says aviation mechanics are retiring at an alarming rate. Minimum pay for airline mechanics is $30. Civil aviation is $18. Why are there no aviation high school / programs within the Black community given to the Tuskegee Airmen legacy?
Well, here's the thing. In the Houston Independent School District, we do have a high school that's for aviation. Sterling High School of Aviation, which is to us in the old school, Ross Shaw Sterling. And that's their aviation program. The reason that Donovan hasn't heard of it, or the reason that some of y'all don't know it exists, because they'll give you a program on paper, but they won't fund it. They won't fund it. It sounds good, but without no funding, we can't do the things that we need to do. I think more kids need to be introduced to not just aviation in high school. They need to be introduced to military in high school. A lot of more kids need to understand that when you turn 18 in the high school, you can go vote. You see what I'm saying? They need to be coming to the schools, and which by law they can, to educate these 18-year-olds on their voting rights. You see what I'm saying? But from an aviation standpoint, my good friend Larry McKenzie graduated from Ross Shaw Sterling, and I think Brenda Brenda, didn't you graduate? Yep. She graduated Sterling class of 78. Have a great aviation program. I don't think they funded enough. And that would be one of my priorities as a trustee, no matter what district these schools are in. Evaluate their programming, see if they're getting enough money with their CAPE programs to make sure that these programs are funded properly. And Demetri, I know you're a busy lady, but if you can give me 50 minutes of your time, we run our fundraisers by 2 hours, and we're doing good, y'all.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that we got to all the questions. So you guys, we're here for another 50 minutes. If you all want to throw some more questions in there, of course, I have some questions. So Gerry, what do we have so far? How much have we raised today so far?
We're right at $14.25.
Hey, that's pretty doggone good. But we know, look, Gerry, just really quick, how much is it going to take you to run a successful campaign?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think if I got a good 25,000, that I can give them hell. I can give them hell, man. You know, because one of the biggest things is the mail outs where you get the stuff in the mail from the candidate. That costs a lot of money. You know, I want to do phone banking. You know how them folks be calling your house. You need to vote for Commissioner Ellis. They calling like every day. I want to do that. That's how I get to my seniors, y'all. So it'll take a little money. You may end up donating to me one time. You may end up donating 5 times. But you can best believe that I'm not coming out when it's over and we win. Ain't gonna be nothing in the account. Because I'm gonna spend it all on the campaign. I'm gonna spend it all on the campaign for the things that we need. So I think about a good 25.
All right, yeah, $25,000 is not a lot in the larger scheme of things with all the, well, and also, and I see some more questions, but what are the things, what's going to cost you the most to run a campaign?
I think it's the mail outs, because when I pulled up in my van system, the number of voters that voted in the last primary, we're looking at right about 8,000. So if I wanted to send out 8,000 pieces of mail, which when you do mail outs, you have to do them multiple times, that becomes very, very costly. And a lot of candidates cannot afford to do that. So, mail outs is the thing that's gonna cost us some money. But like I said, if y'all believe in me, from what you've seen me do, not sitting in the boardroom, you can best believe I'm ready to move a mountain if I can get in there.
All right, so Bank Deuce the King says, are there programs that can be placed on these campuses where teachers can volunteer if they want to?
Look at the number of after-school programs that we don't have on African-American campuses. Look at the number of after-school programs that we don't have on Black and brown campuses. And then go look at the number of after-school programs that actually are on the affluent campuses. We need the same things on ours. And if we can figure out exactly what we need, if you know how to do art, go to your local school, see if you can create an after-school art program. You know what I'm saying? And if you can do that, then you could get grants from the federal government. The school district may even partner with you to provide some type of funding for your program. But all it takes to get it done is just us having a program and going and sitting down and talking to the people and making it make sense. Now, whether the teacher volunteers or not, I don't know. I don't think the teachers have enough time in their day. The average teacher is on the clock technically about 16 hours a day. So for them to even think about doing an after school program sometime, I'm not mad at them because they can't. They spend more time testing than they do teaching.
Okay, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. You talk a lot about helping Black students, okay? So I'm gonna pretend somebody just asked me this question. Why are you always talking about helping Black students? There's more than Black students in the school system that you will be serving. So why are you always talking about or focusing on the Black students? What about all the students?
Does Black lives matter or does all lives matter? We're the least, the last, the lost in the Houston Independent School District. We're grossly underfunded when it comes to Black schools. We don't have anything on our campuses. Our turnover rates are high. is this, is that. As a trustee, I would stand in front of you and tell you that black children matter. And to me, they matter first. You know why I would say that? Go look at the last school board meeting and see who the Latinos felt mattered to them in the form of a superintendent search. They felt Latinos, Latino children, Latino politicians. I'm just not going to throw a rock and hide my hand. That's what I'm not going to do. I'm going to say that these African American children have not gotten what they needed and they need to be put first. And at the end of the day, I will represent every single child. But the only way that you create equity, you look at who's not getting what they need. Go fix that problem, then we can take care of everything else. But in the meantime, I'm doing what I see my future colleagues doing. They put their children first, so I'm going to put black kids first.
Let's stay along with that question just really quick. I'm sure by now you've heard of the 1619 project that focuses on teaching schools and actually students about the institution of slavery and the contributions of black people while here in America. Now we know there's been a lot of pushback, specifically when Trump was in office. He wanted to create a 1776 program, that a project that, highlights America, like we don't already have that, right? And so would that be something you would push for in the school district, is the 1619 project?
I'm the guy that's been fighting to institute anything from a historical standpoint that would teach black children about our history. I've been doing it for years. They won't listen. Can you give us Pan-African studies? They didn't want to do that. But they went and gave us Hispanic, Latino studies. But they wouldn't give it to our children. I believe that the only way that these children can wake up and become who we know that they can become, they have to know their history. They have to know their history. They have to know. If you're going to teach them about American history, I need you to teach them that J. Edgar Hoover murdered Malcolm X. Don't just teach them about Malcolm during the month of February. I need you to tell them why Malcolm is not living right now. I need you to tell them why they're not getting a quality education and they go to a magnet school. Because according to history, magnet schools were created to circumvent Brown versus the Board of Education. So yes, without a shadow of a doubt, and if it was a one vote thing where I got to make the decision, you would have black studies, African American studies, Pan-African studies in my schoolhouses right now.
All right, so Donovan has a really, really good question. He says alternative programs for teen mothers. As we know, when I was going to school and I graduated in 1989, that was kind of unheard of. But then, a couple years after that, we started to see these alternative schools that was actually on the campuses, the regular school campuses, the high school campuses, for teen mothers. And so what are your ideas and thoughts about that?
You have to teach them. You have to put it in their face. These children are having sex at an alarming rate before the age of 13. You have to educate them. Now, if a young lady gets pregnant, I know back in my day, we had a school called K, where if they got pregnant, they sent them to that school. I didn't agree with that. I feel like they were segregating them to hide them from the rest of the kids. But I think that at this moment, we have to put some things in place so that these kids can become knowledgeable of being a teen mother. I mean, you got more teen mothers to me, just in my world where I walk around, than I see grown-up women having babies. And the problem is they don't know how to raise these children. They don't know how to do anything for these children because they're still a child themselves. So yes, I think that, we need something in place. And those are things, I'm being honest with y'all, that's already on my agenda to bring up with my colleagues, that we need to look at this, and we need to look at trying to implement some of this into the school system, because teen pregnancy is not just a black issue. Teen pregnancy is a white issue. Teen pregnancy is a Latino issue. So it has to be addressed.
All right, good answer. So let's see here. And Bruce, how you doing? You say J.A. Rogers and Carter G. Woodson books in the classes. And so we know specifically Carter G. Woodson, he has a book, he's gone now, but it's called The Miseducation of the Negro, where he talked about the school systems and all of these things. And he was talking about this in the early 1900s. And so one of the things that he did talk about, we kind of already covered, is kind of like the vocational, on the line of vocational education, where he says that while it's important to go off to get degrees, but it's just as important to reinvent or revolutionize the things that we already use. And Gerry, you talked about that, plumbing and auto mechanics and all those things. And so do you think that Carter G. Woodson's ideology should be taught in our schools?
I think all the great ones' ideologies should be taught in our schools. That's the problem. They don't want it taught in our schools. You know, Carter G. Woodson, the miseducation of the Negro. What about the uneducation of the Negro? They don't want you to learn what you need to learn. These people are in fear of us having any type of knowledge that would wake us up. That would be a great after school program. They're not going to institute it in the school system, but what stops us from creating a program to teach them after school? You see what I'm saying? So yes, I think it should be in the school system, but if it's not in the school system, let's find a way to get them the information regardless.
All right, and so let's see here. I'm going down here to the questions. And Donovan, you say the allocation of resources between the affluent areas, white, and the original neighborhoods. Should we start busing our kids again between environments? And again, you guys, thank you so much for being here with us. If you haven't already donated to the fundraiser, could you please do so? And here's one of the ways you can do it, and that's the $ Gerry Monroe on Cash App. So go ahead, Gerry.
I don't think we should bust them anywhere. You pay taxes, I pay taxes. Our tax money goes to two different types of schools. They go to regular public schools, they go to charter schools. I don't believe that you should take your child out of the environment that they are familiar with, that they're growing up in, to send them to a school on the other side of town that can give them a better education. Who is comfortable from an administrative standpoint, from a board standpoint, saying that you should send your child over here to get a better education? You run the school system. Why are you not providing a better education in the middle of South Park? Why do they have to go to River Oaks to get a quality education? Now, can that happen? Yes, it can, but it's going to take the teachers, it's going to take the parents, and more importantly, it takes the children to say enough is enough. You're going to educate me right here. Now, when you're trying to accomplish this, you have to know what you want. They're not going to give you any information. They're not going to tell you this is what you need to accomplish your goal. So you're going to have to do the research on your own, figure out exactly what you need. And when you sit down and talk to them, okay, and they'll hit you with the question. Okay, so what do you want? Bam, 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 bam. Oh, damn, they actually do know what they want. Yeah. So no, I don't believe that we should be busing. You should have the same quality education on this side of town that you have on that side of town.
All right. So let me ask you this, and then I'm going to get to P.I. Hill, your question. How are you? So what would you do to try to create policy in regards to teaching finance and economics in the school system? We know we always hear people say, "Oh my gosh, I wish they would have taught us about money more," and you know, really how to make and save money and everything else in between. So what would you do if that's even in your control to do?
Well, first of all, in the state of Texas, you should not be able to graduate with a diploma unless you've taken government and economics. The other day, I had to wish a happy birthday to my old government teacher, economics teacher, Ms. Ida Jones, who just turned, I think, 89 years old. So they have these courses in our schools. They the thing is you can get around it because of who you are, what sport you play, or whatever. No, I don't think that's the way it should be. See, we couldn't get around Miss Jones and Coach Mumphrey. No. You're gonna take these classes, and while you're in these classes, you actually gonna learn this. So it's already there. We just have to make sure that our children are taking these classes that they need upon graduation. If not, if your child never took economics and he graduates with the diploma and you celebrating with him, how did he do it? No, you need that. You need to learn economics and especially government when in the state of Texas, because that's a graduation requirement.
All right, now, so P.I. Hill asks, says another thing that we should do is ask the children, do they care or want people stepping up to bat for them in school concerning education and better school activities? The reason I bring this up is because you have children that go to school to solely cause trouble and create conflict and don't mind tearing shit up that they don't pay for. So what's your opinion on that?
Well, first of all, depending on the kid and the situation, a lot of days they're quick to say, well, they're a child, they didn't know what they were doing or what they were thinking. When it comes to education, that's not a conversation I need to have with a kid. I need to make sure that they got what they need in their school. Now, as far as the kids that want to be disruptive, it's this simple. This is a learning environment. You either want to be here or you don't. Which one is it going to be? But you're not going to stay here and be disruptive. That's not going to happen. So, I think we just need to fight to make sure that they have everything. Like they said Yates couldn't turn around. They said we couldn't do it academically at Yates. No, we couldn't do that. We couldn't do that. But 3-4 years later, we're IB World School. Yeah, and it wasn't a big conversation to have with the kids. We kind of know what you guys need. But in a lot of instances, PI, you do need to have conversations with your kids. Like when you're instituting new vocational programs, you have to figure out what they want. You see what I'm saying? Don't just bring in something in here that you want. Like they try to give us hospitality. Well, so who want to go and work at the front desk of a hotel? Man, go find these kids something they really want to do, man. But the only way you can do that is if you have the conversations with the kids.
All right. And Channy, how are you? You say, as a prospective HISD board member, what are your hopes and fears for the district? How do you plan to address both?
Yeah, the biggest fear, let me start with that one for the district is this attitude that board members have to satisfy certain politicians, certain vendors, the teachers union. The big issue in HISD, quietly as kept, is the removal of police off these campuses. You don't want to do that. If you do that, you already had a kid die on the campus last year. You don't want to do that. If you do that, this will become a very, very unsafe environment. And it's going to be not one murder. It's going to be more than one murder. Now, here's the crazy part about it. I told them the murder would happen months before it would happen. Because I walk these schools and I know. That's my biggest fear. Now, what I would love to see happen in the Houston Independent School District is that the Board of Trustees could put aside their personal issues and start working in the best interest of the children. Allow the superintendent to do her job without all of the distraction and all of the extra stuff that's coming on, and become the best school district in the country. That's what I want to see. It can be done. I know I would have to sit in some rooms with some people that hate my guts, but we need to be like the Temptations. I don't care if you like me. We just got to sing together one Thursday after month. And let's just accomplish the goal. Now, when we walk up out of here, we ain't got to speak to each other no more. But while we in here, let's do what we need to do for our children. And you can accomplish that goal if you push them personal agendas to the side.
Absolutely. And Bang Deuce the King says, why can't we just go back to opening and operating our own schools for our own children? That way our children get educated. love and not be stretched out in prison sentence to 27 to life like me.
They have opportunities for us to run our own schools, and that's during the charter setting. You know, you can open you a charter school. You could do it tomorrow. You know, go through the process of opening your charter school. The problem is, and let's just be honest, there is no oversight when it pertains to the money of a charter school. And you Negroes go and open the school and start stealing all the money. You start doing all the underhanded stuff. See, God has given us a vehicle to help our children. But as soon as you figure out there's no oversight, instead of going to the math lab, you're going to the casino with the school's money. Yo, we can get it done. But I tell you what, why don't you understand that they take your tax money? At the bottom of your tax statement, it's going to show your school district at the end of the year. Why don't you just make sure the money that you're paying is going where it needs to go? I have a philosophy when it comes to school district, especially HISD. I'm not going to beg you for something I already paid for. I want a quality education for these kids. And I'm not going to beg you for that. But we have the opportunity. We just seem to mess it up all the time.
Yeah, but I want to stay with Bank Deuce the King. He says, in Black schools, we need to have a class that shows how important it is to know how the judicial system works and how important it is to serve on jury duty. Can you see implementing something like that in the schools?
Why don't we just use government to do that? Why don't we have this incorporated into our government curriculum? You see what I'm saying? Instead of being down in Austin passing these bogus bills that legislators do 90% of the time, why don't you look at the education curriculum and see if we can do something to put some of this stuff in there? Now, they ain't have no problem putting into our curriculums how Black children should interact with the police when they're pulled over. They put that in our curriculum. So the things that you're saying should be in the government class, or we need to lobby the legislators to get them to put this in our curriculum. But I agree that it should be there. We got a lot going on and we got to address everything. We can't say we're going to address one thing this year, next year we'll look at two other things. No, it's a problem now and we need to address it right now.
I got a question for you, Mr. Monroe. We know that the kids not being in school right now, it's costing the school district money and all that other stuff. Now, nobody really thought about a pandemic and, you know, how this was going to affect everything like that. So, you know, you have to be more proactive than reactive. So now that we know these contingencies could happen and we know that per kid, there's a value and a money situation to that. How would you, knowing everything that you know about the schools and how it works and all that other stuff, would better prepare the Houston school districts for elements of the weather and kids not attending school at a certain time to get the federal funding and all that other stuff? What is your goal about that?
We got to have a plan A and a plan B. The pandemic has shown us that there's a digital divide in education across this country that we never knew existed. The pandemic has also shown us just because they're in an affluent school and they have computers and the poor Black and brown children don't, that don't mean they know how to navigate them when they're going to have to go to school virtually. You see what I'm saying? I think that there needs to be some emphasis put on the fact that we need to prepare our children for virtual learning during the course of a regular school year. When there is no pandemic, there's always been a pandemic in education. There's been a pandemic when it came to educating Black kids, whether it was digitally or whether it was in the classroom. That's been the pandemic. So realistically, the Black kids ain't hurting that bad. Actually, I know Black administrators that are laughing that these high-powered schools are now not doing no better than they're doing because they were cooking the books the whole time. So the thing is we need to prepare better. The pandemic has shown us preparation is the key to surviving it all. So we need to put some stuff in place. That would be a good after-school situation to learn how to navigate the educational system from a teacher standpoint, from a student standpoint, in case this pandemic lasts longer than it needs to. How do we navigate this? How do we work around this? Can we successfully educate our children virtually? I think we can. I know we can because I go to school virtually and I'm on the dean's list with no 21st century learning.
And a quick follow-up, also on the being on the school board and stuff, there are certain areas and aspects where you have to interact with the city and the city council of Houston, because certain land is school land that's allocated to the school, certain land is allocated to the city, and sometimes you guys are going to have to meet in the meeting of the minds in who gets what, and jurisdiction type situations. So with your background and your knowledge and what you do outside of running for school board, how is your relationship with candidates and people that are on the city council and politically? How is that going to affect your relationship while sitting on the school board and getting stuff done?
Well, according to Mayor Turner, about 2-3 years ago, the city of Houston has nothing to do with education in the Houston Independent School District. That's not their arena. But I still have relationships with city council people because I want them more involved in the educational component that's in their district. They have to be involved in it. But the Houston Independent School District basically stands on its own. It doesn't, what you just mentioned, they don't deal with that. And the only time you're going to see city government get involved in education, like last time with Mayor Turner, and I'm not picking on him, is when he gets together a group of his friends and decides they want to take 11 schools and turn them into charter schools so they can make money off of them. That's the only time you're gonna deal with them.
Wow. Okay, so let me ask you this. Let's stay along with the whole little pandemic thing, and I see some questions I'm going to get to. We talk a lot about the children, right? Not being able to navigate this, that, and the other. But one thing this pandemic has exposed is that there's a lot of teachers who actually cannot teach. And that has been discovered by parents watching, or, somebody, whoever's, being able to look in on the Zoom classes, if you will. So how would you address that as a board member, these teachers who actually can't teach?
Well, we got to understand the function of a board member and what our job requirements are. You got 3 job requirements. Wow, just 3. You only have to deal with 3 things. That's setting the tax rate, that's hiring and firing a superintendent, and voting on policy. So in order to accomplish that goal, you'd have to have a committee, go through a couple of studies, bring up something, and present it to the administration. First of all, we need to understand where the problem started and where it lies till this day. That we got rid of the high-performing teachers 8 to 9 years ago. You got rid of teachers that knew how to teach 8, 9 years ago. Now, as you look at the pandemic, Ms. Demetra, you're right. They've been exposed. They don't know how to teach. Remember what I said in the beginning, state mandated testing does not allow teachers to teach. They're teaching to the test. So if you can get rid of the test and let teachers go in there and do what they're passionate about doing, which is teaching a kid, helping them learn. You see what I'm saying? Until 3 years ago, they had banned cursive writing in the state of Texas, in the school system. But you know what I told people? I say, y'all don't have a clue. And you know me, I'm a conspiracy theorist sometimes. I say, they banned cursive writing. They don't want to teach it in school no more because they don't envision you having to ever sign your name on the back of a check. So you might need cursive writing. So in order to accomplish these goals, we have to understand that teachers are being disrespected at this moment. But some of these teachers cannot teach worth a plug nickel. And I think it's being more exposed at the affluent schools who had all the protection and all the cover, and now their grades are no better than the poor performing Black schools. Yeah, because y'all were cooking the books. So how do you fix that? I think that you need to go back and see if Brenda Limbrick Sanders has a teaching certificate. She one of them teachers that got fired. Bring her back. Go back out there. You got a teaching force that's just sitting at home. Dr. Bertie Simmons was at home retired before they brought her back to FUR and stopped it from being a dropout factory. Go back and get those teachers that know how to teach. A first-year kid out of Prairie View, TSU, U of H, whatever. They're not ready to be in the gladiator schools like Madison and North Forest. They can't handle that. Go get the ones that knew how to teach and knew how to manage classrooms, and you'll solve this problem tomorrow.
Absolutely. And let me see here. What about, let me see, Brenda's asking, I think it's Brenda. Yes. Do you agree with using a paddle on a student? If so, how will it be implemented?
Why did they take discipline out the schools? Simple. When the white folk, and I'm telling the truth, you can be white and be mad. When the black people had to whoop your little white kid ass, discipline became a problem. You didn't want no discipline in the school. When you started watching Oprah, Phil Donahue, letting them people tell you what to do with your kids in the school, or we don't need to do this, discipline came out the school. You crippled the schools when you took God and discipline up out of them. I'm just being honest. That's the way I feel. Now, you separate, religion from state. Let's get that straight. But, discipline. Do I believe in discipline? I am 53 years old, and this is a real statement, because them coaches used to whoop my ass. Now, do I think we need to do it nowadays? No, I don't think we need to do it nowadays. Why? Because some of y'all ain't right that would have to put the paddle on them children. Y'all not stable. You beat and try to abuse them kids. See, our coaches wasn't abusing us. They were saving our life. But some of you people nowadays, no. I don't think you should have a paddle, a ruler, nothing to put your hands on them kids because you don't know how to do it.
Quick question. Here in my city, here in California, we had a situation where somebody sat on the school board, and it come to find out that person was pimping and pandering young schoolgirls within the school system. He went to federal prison. He's about to get out in a couple, I think about 2 or 3 years. Now, and you find this along the country, not that situation, but you find out that a teacher might be sleeping with a student or, of that ilk. Now, if something like that happened within the school district, within your situation, and we know teachers have unions and they got to go through all of this process, what would you do within your preview of the contract with the union to deal with that teacher that has either slept with the student or an allegation of sleeping with a student?
That is an issue that I've been on from day one. The Houston Independent School District has had that problem too many times. And I told them the first thing is y'all are not vetting these people. See, there's a way that they slip through the cracks. You could be in Dallas, Texas, and get accused of that. What they do, instead of firing them, they allow them to resign. So it doesn't show up in the system. They move from Dallas to Houston to get a job. They just apply. They give them their friend number at the school as a reference. They call and check the reference, but don't have a clue that they was a pedophile and they resigned. You see what I'm saying? We need to vet these teachers better, prospective teachers better. We need to also have zero tolerance for anybody that's involved in a situation like that. It shouldn't be a situation where we got to jump through hoops to get them fired. No. Not that they're accused. If it's proven, get your ass out of our school district. Now, I would give you some advice if you're male or female. If you're looking just to have sex with somebody, just walk around your school. There's enough loose teachers walking around there, male and female. But I'm not going to sit here and be comfortable with no grown-ass woman sleeping with no little boy or no grown-ass man sleeping with no little girl when it come across the Diaz and, well, Joe Blow, we have to talk about his separation today. Where I sign it? He need to go. And that's all it boils down to. But in order to get some of this stuff changed, Donovan, to handle it the right way, You got to deal with them legislators, man. Them the people that I don't understand some of the things that need to change by law. Why y'all ain't changing it? They dropped the ball on it. But the Houston Independent School District, oh, bruh, that's been like one of the biggest things that we done dealt with. You know, it is what it is. And the sad part is you got grown people covering up for these people when they get caught.
Excellent question, Donovan. And so, you guys, we got about 15 minutes left or so in this fundraiser. If you haven't already, if you could please donate so we can get Gerry to the school board. And the election is November of this year, correct? So we have, roughly 7 months. I could be off.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, 7 months or so. And so Bank Deuce the King, he said, my mother was just served with a court date for truancy for my nephew. She's now preparing evidence to beat her case. I don't believe any of these districts or parents were prepared for virtual learning. You believe that is true?
I agree with you. I agree that she's going to fight that case and she's going to win that case. She's going to beat them. Say, man, you're not going to force me to send my child in an unsafe environment. I stand with them 100%. You see what I'm saying? When I told you about truancy earlier, I say it's got to be reasons that this is going on. And a pandemic where, if you can't open a school board office to have a school board meeting, then I don't recommend a person send their child to school. It's less people at a school board meeting than you have kids in the classroom. So, I don't think we were prepared. I think they had knowledge. They knew that this could happen, but they played the law average and they got caught. They didn't prepare for it, and therefore that's the reason it looks the way that it looks now.
So true or false? And this is from Fayetteville. She says teachers that cannot teach should be supported and given a certain amount of time to improve. What do you think about that?
If you can't teach, you need to go at home. But these are the people, Fayetteville, that they want in the building. They don't want people that can teach. They want people that can teach the test. You see what I'm saying? They don't want, if they want the teachers, then why they fire them every year? In Houston, we average firing 400 or 500 teachers every single year because they cannot make the adjustment from what they learned in college to teaching for a test. College doesn't prepare you as a teacher to teach for a test. It doesn't prepare you for that to be a good teacher. It gives you the core fundamentals of how to be a teacher. They take away from all that. So I don't feel that if you can't teach, if you're a good teacher and you can't teach, then now you need to find something else to do.
All right now, and Channy says, since we are in a legislative year and legislators are always bombarded by special interest groups, lobbyists, money, etc., what are your top 3 priorities that you would like to see implemented or changed in the district at the state level?
Tell the legislators go in the state of Texas, get with the Texas Education Agency and fix our special ed programs. What is going on with our special ed kids not getting the help that they need? That is my first priority. Second thing, funding. You're not funding our schools properly. You're not giving us what you're supposed to give us to run our school systems. Then you use Robin Hood, which would be the third thing. You use Robin Hood as a means to take funding from us. Get rid of Robin Hood. They don't want to see me on the Hill, but they also know that I will be speaking in front of the education committee that's, chaired by my good friend Harold Dutton. So he knows that I'm coming. But special ed needs to be addressed in the state of Texas. They are not taking care of our special ed children in any way, shape, form, or fashion. They will not test to see if these kids need help. They don't want their schools overpopulated with special ed, but you ain't got a problem taking the money from them. No, give our kids the help that they need.
All right, y'all. So we're coming around the corner here. Again, if you haven't already, if you could please donate something. Gerry, where are we at now as far as donations raised so far?
Still right about 14, hasn't changed since the last time.
All right, so maybe we'll get a couple of more dollars to come on in here.
Every dollar helps. Every dollar helps. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And Donovan says, Texas Supreme Court has ruled eviction moratorium unconstitutional. A lot of students and their families will be evicted and homeless. Do you have a program or a plan to help?
Well, first of all, make sure your school has wraparound services. And whoever's a coordinator over wraparound services, they normally work directly with those families, those children, to find out if they're going through something like that. And they do a great job in the Houston Independent School District since they've started doing wraparound services. They do a great job of identifying those children to make sure that they have the help that they need. So it's already being done.
And I want to kind of piggyback on that. How do you think the CPS system and the school district should work together? Like, what should be their roles with each other?
CPS is corrupt within their own self. And a lot of days, I'm not comfortable with CPS working with the school system. Because if you got the wrong administrator involved in a situation that CPS has to be involved in, they can tear a family apart. They can make the mom look like a vicious killer. And I've seen them do it. I'm not comfortable with CPS dealing with our school system to a certain degree. And I really think there needs to be a level of separation.
I was having a conversation with someone earlier, and they said a student was overheard telling another student or something like that, that we don't have anywhere to live. My mom and we don't have anywhere to live. And the teacher overheard it and ran and, called CPS. And now the CPS is involved in the family's life. And so how much authority should a teacher have, just based on the conversation, the information I just gave you, how much authority should they have to be able to call CPS with so little information? Like, what protocols would you put in place before a teacher can run the CPS and give a half?
District policy says that the teacher shouldn't have ran the CPS. They should have went to their administrator. You leave that up to the administrator. And at that point, I'm going to be honest with you, most of the administrators that I know are not going to call CPS on that. They're going to contact the family and see what kind of help they need. That's the reason they have wraparound services. And I think there needs to be something put in place to where if these people violate, policy and procedure, that they're dealt with to the highest degree. Because like I said, the wrong administrator, the wrong teacher doing this, you can tear a family apart. So, something has to be put in place to make sure that quote unquote, that they learn how to stay in their lane.
Absolutely. And so again, you guys, if you joined us late, we are at the tail end of our fundraiser here to help get Gerry to the school board as a trustee in District 9, and every little bit helps. And we're going to actually have a fundraiser once a month because, issues and things change. And we also appreciate you all for all the very well thought out questions for Gerry. And, me being a moderator here, I know I'm supposed to be a little bit, I'm not supposed to have an opinion, but I would say he has answered every question exceptionally well, has not dodged any question, has been very transparent. And so I'm just going to put my endorsement out there that's what you need. That's what you need on the school board, is somebody who is going to give you answers instead of the, well, let me see, or I don't know. And, some old, blanket answer that really doesn't help you at all. And so you need someone on the school board district that's going to bring a human element to the board instead of this technical stuff, right? And so, Gerry, Donovan, I'll go ahead and let you have one last question, and we'll have Gerry give us his best shot as to why he should be elected to this school board. Like, just really give it to us. If we had to vote today, what would be your selling point? So, Donovan?
Yeah, my last question is this, and I think it would go with as well as his closeout. like I said, I'm totally impressed. You didn't run from any questions. I threw you some zingers and you already knew the answer. And I'm just like, dang, I thought I had on that one. But when you come to the war zone and you come to these type of things, we don't pull no punches. I think we pretty much know what we're talking about, and we have a little bit of education. But what I want to know, and I think what a lot of people out there want to know is, at 45 years of age, no, I'm joking. Well, you're a couple years older than me. You are going back to school. Why is it that you feel at your age that you need to go back to school? Is it to complete a dream or whatever? Why is it that you need to go back to school? Because now, you could run for school board just based on your life experience. You have experience to do that. Why are you going back to school? Is it an example? What is it?
I went back to school for the kids to motivate them. I'm mentoring some kids, and they told me, why should we listen to you? You didn't finish college. And I say, well, you're right. And I think a couple of months later, I signed up to go back to college. And I did it to show them that if you have the time, you have the patience, you can accomplish the goal. Now, I will say that I've never made the honor roll in high school, but I graduated with honors, for my associate's degree. I put the time and the work in. Is for me to motivate them. No, I didn't have to go back to college. I'm doing good. I'm straight. But I love a challenge. And I wanted to show them that as a African American male, you challenge the wrong one, because I'm gonna get it done every single time. And that's something about me. When I put my mind to it, I'm gonna get it done. It's a lot of different reasons. I'm happy now to say that I know my mom would be happy I'm back in school. I also had to show these people out here that said, well, he doesn't have an education to sit in an elected office. I got one now. What you gonna say now? So any obstacle that's been put in front of me, I'm gonna find a way to navigate it. But realistically, I did it for the kids to motivate them. And because of that, we had some kids that were not on track. But since they seen the old man doing it, those kids made honor roll, and they will make it else. I can't let him outdo me. Well, bring it, homie, because I'm gonna bring it every time I go into the classroom. So that's the reason I did it for them.
All right, and so I see a couple of people are asking in different ways to donate instead of Cash App. So yes, Gerry does have a Zelle, and thank you, Bank Deuce the King, for putting that number up. But I'm going to go ahead and Gerry, if you can put your number up in addition to the Cash App.
I did put it up. It's up there.
Okay, you put it on the big screen here. So just kind of put it underneath the Cash App so people can donate. So yes, if you have Zelle, any other way that you can donate, we would most definitely appreciate that. And thank you all for all the donations that you have given so far. Every little bit helps. And so Gerry cannot do this without great people like you. And so soon after he puts his phone number up for Zelle, he's going to give us his last pitch as to why he is so worthy to go to the school board. So we're going to come with the Zelle, the phone number, in just a second. But for those of you guys, while we're waiting, that phone number is 832-933. I think I see. Oh, wait, no, wait. There it is. My eyes are getting bad. All right, Gerry, so what you got?
You don't have to vote for me. But if you're comfortable with institutions of learning that have been major parts of our community for many decades closing, then don't vote for me. If you don't have a problem with children being discriminated against in regards to how they're being taught, don't vote for me. If you don't have a problem with your schools being unsafe, don't vote for me. If you don't have a problem with the hardworking teachers being treated like garbage, don't vote for me. Just know those are few of the issues that I have a problem with. If you don't have a problem with them messing over special ed kids, don't vote for me, because I'm not going to allow it. You see what I'm saying? I recommend that you vote for me because we are not prepared for what is going to happen if you don't. In order to disrupt a school system and destroy it like they did in New Orleans, Louisiana after Katrina, you need a catastrophic event to happen. Ain't that what the pandemic is? So now it's set up for them to come after this school district. You need people on the school board that don't have to be investigated by the federal government, that don't have to be investigated by the Texas Education Agency. They go into the building and they make the right decisions and they do the right things at all times. You need a trustee that will value a superintendent, that will allow the superintendent and administration to do their jobs. You need a trustee that's not in bed with the Houston Federation of Teachers, that's not in bed with vendors and money being passed under the table. I don't want your money. I don't want a free meal. I want to take care of these children and these teachers and these schools. But lastly, you need Worthing to be the Worthing that it should have been. Evan E. Worthing created Worthing High School because he was a white man that got sick of seeing Black children not get an education. The Houston Independent School District did not build Worthing High School. Evan E. Worthing spent his own money. I need to see Worthing back where it was. I need to see James Madison back where it was. I need to see Lawson Middle School back where it was. I need to see Westbury back where it was. Take me back in a time machine so I can see the greatness, so I can show you what it was like to walk the halls of any one of those institutions and be proud to do it. It's time to stop playing with this because you only got so many times to get this wrong. It's time to get it right. Well, like I said, I'm not the guy that's going to put on the suit and ties every day. I don't profess to not use cuss words. I am a cigarette smoking, foul mouth, yak drinking, regular guy that will leave it on the floor for your children. And that's a little bit better than what we've been dealing with all these people with all these degrees and they fancy ways of talking, and all they doing is screwing us and our children. No, send them home. That's what I got to say.
All right, y'all. So I think that was one for the record book. So stay tuned for a date next month where we'll have another fundraiser. You can bring all your awesome questions and or donations if you have them, but it's not too late if you guys, have it and you still want to do so. Once we leave here, you can always go back into the comment section. Gary, if you could pin your information there and do so. But anyway, you guys, we're going to get out of here. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and stay tuned to the War Zone, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Central Time, where we are going to be talking about everything. And of course, we'll fill you in with Gary's run to the school board there throughout the War Zone conversations. And so you guys do be good and stay safe out there.
I want to say this here. Today, we raised a total of $1,500. Thank y'all, man. Thank y'all. So every time we do it, I may not be able to donate $500 to myself next time, but I just wanted to show you that I invest in me just as well as you invest in me. Say until we do it again, thank y'all so much, man. But share the video, tell your friends, they can still donate. That's the information. Thank you.